Good evening, everyone, or good morning. Welcome, Mr. Pigments. Welcome. Can't stay. That's fine. Just drop in later if you are interested in it. And it's not going to be a very special thing I'm going to make today, but you never know what happens in the chat here. Cheers, everyone, for who is joining us or me from wherever you are. As you can see, last stream kind of got me thinking and maybe looking at Ultramarine a little bit more after my previous rant. The different ultramarines that I have and have worked with, made into paint, or just experimented with, mixed with. So today I thought, you know, let's just make some ultramarine. I think it's been a while since I did that during a live. If there's anything else you would like to see, just let me know. It's, you know, maybe just to compare it with or whatever. So, in the meantime, hopefully everything is working, by the way. On my side, it looks like it. If there's anything not working, please let me know. Just checking if everything is on here. And let's have a look where I left my ultramarine blue that I usually use for making paint. I think it's over here. It's definitely over here. There's not much left in the jar, so it needs a refill. This is enough for now. The image around me, by the way, it's a little bit of a greener ultramarine than the one I have over here. I don't know if it's visible a lot. I don't think it is. Which is weird. This looks... it looks quite similar. Never mind. Mostly my screen, I think, that doesn't do the reds that well. I'm just going to wait for a minute or two before I get started, since it is it's a little bit earlier. Also, I did plan it for 8:30, and I started a little bit earlier. Don't withhold yourself, Gulchen. Just throw out whatever's in your system. I don't mind. So I use my big muller today. Let's use the big one. There you go, I hope that helped. Let's just do an announcement for this on Instagram as well. Okay. So let's just get started. I think I enjoy making this paint. I almost want to say the most, but I've said this before. I'll probably say it. Let's start with 3, 4, 3, 4. What shall we do? We can make a little bit extra. I'll probably say it again, but there's a reason why this is like one of those paints that, or one of the pigments that is shown in a paint factory. I think most often when people haven't seen like dry pigments before, not in a large quantity, or like they have an idea of what a pigment is, but it's in a paint. But seeing ultramarine as a paint, it looks completely different than seeing it as a pigment, especially in oils and watercolors. There's loads of times acrylics have a filler or a brightener in it, which makes it often, not always, look closer to this, but not as saturated. But as you know, watercolors and oils, they with ultramarine, they are very dark, dry. A dried watercolor pan is almost black looking, almost no color visible until you paint it out again. And this pigment is used like in factory tours of paint factories. They're showing a pigment and they open a big bag of ultramarine blue, and it's quite impressive. I mean, is that thing? Oh no, it's underneath the box. I can't show it. But you know, I have a big box of ultramarine blue, not a big bag, but a big box of ultramarine blue. But like the surface area on the top is kind of the same. So yeah, I can imagine, yeah. But seeing this as a dry pigment is always kind of mind-blowing for people who don't know pigments, and I fully get that as well. I mean, like, there's no judgment there at all, to no one. So I really understand why people show, why people in the factory should show it. How much ultramarine blue do you have? Yes. Well, basically that's the answer. Yes, I do have much. How much do I have? There's a few big jars, like the glass jars. There's a big glass jar over here as well. This is vintage, if you will. Then there's a few jars like this. I have loads of refill for this jar. This is my this is the Ultramarine blue that I use for my line of paint as Ultramarine blue. I have the Edouard Adam from Paris, which is reasonable. And then there's a big box full of it. It's over there. No, you can't see it. Well, it's a big box full, and there's a bucket of Ultramarine as well, but like the tin bucket, which I have used in a short, I think. So there's enough Ultramarine blue here to know my Ultramarines. But I enjoy this one. Like, this is what you expect like Ultramarine to be, like the warm, bright, saturated, in your face blue. And this is what you get, and I do like using this as like my main one. Then there's ones that are a little bit more red, and there's ones that are greenish. I've showed the box of Ultramarines. It's not really an answer. I don't know. I don't have a specific number of how much or how many different. How many, I can look it up, but how many different ones, I don't have an answer on exactly how much. I think it's enough. Even in some are undercooked, yeah, some are overcooked, some are tempered with. I've said no to a very large bag of Ultramarine that I could get for free. I declined the offer. Why would I do that? You know, I don't have any more space. I wish I had. I wish I could kind of build an attic on top of this. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, so I declined. It was like a 20 kilo bag of Ultramarine blue, which was quite large as well. So it's. I have the. I have a 10 kilogram bag of PR 110 or 110, PY 110. I have a barrel of ochre and a bucket of ochre and a barrel of red ochre, bucket of yellow ochre. I have a big box of Ultramarine blue, and I think I have a kilogram or 2-3 of this stuff in stock. So the 20 kilogram Ultramarine blue, I don't know, it's unfortunate. I mean, I could get it for free, but I don't have the room. I don't have the space for it. It would just literally be in the middle of my studio if I would take that. Or I had to hang it on the ceiling or something like that. So this, I make my work have too many aspects. I think that's the best way to say it. It doesn't really have too many aspects. I mean, you can just make paint, sell paint, have a web shop, things like that. But I want to do more. I wanna see more. I wanna know. I know Gulchen, but it's. it was a really hard decision for me. I can probably still get it if I ask it, but like there's, I think, 3 kilograms of Mayan blue, Mayan red, and Mayan yellow, which have all been discontinued from that place, from the Mayan pigment company or Inc. Something like that. I don't know. If it were a pigment that wasn't made anymore and wasn't like kind of readily available and very affordable, a watercolorist, welcome. I would have said yes, and I would have come up with a solution. Maybe just keep it in the back of my car for eternity. So if like, yeah. Let's start making some paint. It's don't let me think about that. Now it's you know, I've had quite a few bags, jars, and even that barrel that was donated to me. So I've been quite lucky with some pigment finds. I know I missed a few. I've had a few opportunities since I've been looking into pigments. So not when I was like not knowledgeable at all, but since I've been looking a little bit more into what a pigment is and what it does and what kind of different pigments there are. Just a really basic start, but since that start, I've had a few things pass by that I either lacked the funds for or missed the opportunity. Someone beat me to it. Yeah. I think I rather look at what I do have. I do have some very special things here. Not a lot of people have laying around. So I'm lucky enough as I am. Like emerald green, yes. Mummy brown, an Indian yellow. But you know, I want to say Tyrian purple, but you can actually still buy that. So it's I don't think that counts. I prefer the name Mummy Brown. I know it's the same thing. You're kind of making it all sound weird or something. I don't know. Green poison, ground up dead person. And in all honesty, it could have been a crocodile or a cat or anything else. It's a mummy. I never said it's a mummified person. I don't know the source material. Don't make it sound cursed. Maybe it is. I don't know. This is such a relaxing paint to make. This is the exact reason when people ask me which pigment they should start with when we're talking regular pigments. So not shimmers, mica pigments, but the matte pigments. This is the reason why I say they should try this first. There is one downside to this. It is a bit smelly. The sulfur in it, especially during this phase, it's like I'm mixing it and you kind of smell it in the beginning, but especially at this phase, scraping it off, the little friction that comes from the knife, possibly heating the knife up a little bit, makes the smell more, I want to say more potent, but it's not that bad. But Murray, welcome. A little bit earlier this week, so hopefully that helps for you. Should actually wear my apron with this. Wearing a white shirt, making blue. I'm working quite neatly always, so that's shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. So, last week I read that Huawei, the tech company, they have a phone factory which produces a phone every second, and there's no lights in the factory because there's no people in the factory. Everything is automated. Everything is robots. Sentient, welcome. There's also very little oxygen because there's no airflow. There's probably cooling systems, but there's no airflow, so there's no dust specks. Which kind of sounded ideal for me. I have silicone scrapers. I have these ones. I don't think I like these a lot because they stain and I can't get it off. I can show it with a little bit of paint here. Also, it leaves more paint. I mean, I can scrape it like this, leaving more paint, or I can scrape it like this, working a little bit better. But then I would need a palette knife. I would actually lose a lot more paint, as you can see. So yeah, it's for like the jobs for people. It's I think this is not like. I doubt if there were any people actually in the factory before. I think this is just built from the ground up, something like this. But yeah, this will cost people their job. Fat Filbert, welcome. Thanks for joining. But yeah, no airflow. it kind of sounded good for me since the air filtrators here. I've recently replaced all the the activated carbon and dust filters in them. It's not a lot here, I have to say. I have one of the air filters in my home as well, and I noticed that just collects a lot more dust in the filter, so I'm happy to have it there as well. Here it's a lot less, and here I do have them on like softer on 24/7. There's a sensor here on my desk as well. If there's any like particles in the air more than the lowest average that I could find, then it already kind of turns on a higher setting. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Sentient. Well, I do think it's also a different mindset. I know, like the 1,000 arguments, and I'm not here to start a discussion, but I do think with developments like this, it also creates new jobs. It creates new needs, and obviously, it might be a different kind of person to be able to fill that need. It's not always only negative. But letting people work less, in this case, like that factory is made so there is almost 0% pollution happening inside that factory. So I get that can't be in combination with people sometimes, or less people around instead of no people. That's just an example. But I do think there are solutions for it. But Gulchen, you can do that from home, right? And that is actually very cool, but you can do that from home. I think that is, hopefully you can do that from home, by the way. Hopefully you can do that from home, since not even long ago that is a shame, but for some people with jobs like that, a while back you can work from home and just, that is a shame, because working from home would give you a little bit more freedom. I wouldn't say less work. Yeah, I get that. Ian, welcome. No, but hey, watercolors, you know, since COVID happened, the flexibility in working from home or having a combination, just working from home and going to an office, for instance, it's more common, right? There's more people who actually saw more productivity and saw good things happening when people were working from their home offices. Well, sentient, in that case, I really understand that is something very positive, that you don't have to go to your job every day. By the way, this was perfect, so I'm not going to pour it into pans, I think. Or maybe, just maybe, I'm just going to make a lot of noise first. I bought some new syringes. Sorry for the noise, by the way. With caps on it. I'm not sorry about that noise. That was on purpose. Maybe I really should wear my apron when I'm closing this, in case it just squirts out. Just going to let it all slide down a little bit before I'm going to put that thing in. I have a custom order for a Gunzai pen filled with this, but I shipped out my last Gunzai pens, empty ones. So I need to print that. I just thought about it while making the Ultramarine. Now I need to wait until all the air is here, and then I can take the cap off, or otherwise it will just, well, cover my camera instead of my ceiling. I've made tube paints. I don't have them here. The Gonzai pen, the Gonzai sized pen, it's like 2.5 full pens, but not as deeply filled as those. Oh, nope. You see it? Just went in the cap already. There was too much pressure on it. Still. Come on. I have my tubes literally laying next to me here. My empty tubes. Sylvie, yes, it was at first, but that was the time I actually put in for last Wednesday, but then I couldn't make last Wednesday, but forgot to change the time, so sorry about that. It's not that bad. It's... There we go. To the brim. And that will stay for a while. Not too long though. Ultramarine, ultramarine blue can get bad. Can go bad. And it's not prone to molding as far as I know. I've never had that. But the silver smell will hit you in the face if you leave this for too long. You can put it in the fridge to keep it a little bit longer. The worst smelling paint that went completely sideways. It had its own route, and not even sideways. It went up the hill and, you know, on an adventure. It was Dirty Blue, my signature mix, ultramarine blue with yellow ochre. And I had that like in a small jar. I had some I made too much. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pour a lot of pens and let that dry, the first layer, and then pour them over and over and over again. Oh, now I need to be careful with what I'm touching. And then I forgot about that jar. I put another jar on it. I completely forgot about that jar. And you know this little lid that like has a vacuum when you open a jar, and which plops when you open it. That was shiny and round, like it was all blown up. There was a lot of pressure on there. Stockwell, welcome. I've seen your comments, or comment, I think. Didn't have the time to react on it last week. It was a bit chaotic, but welcome. Thanks for joining. Anyway, that jar that went bad. The lid had pressure on it, a metal lid in a glass jar, which isn't a good sign. Never, with anything. My biggest mistake I made with paint making, a mistake that is my fault. Like I've had things happening in my studio, like the dehydrator overheating, which destroyed all my paints, or shipments that got lost. No, that's all like outside of me. That's part of the risk of the job, I think. But it's not paint making sessions. These are chat sessions while making a bit of paint. This was an example. The biggest mistake I made was opening that jar in my studio. The smell was as if something died weeks ago. in a sealed container, which was opened, and every single atom that could be kind of spread throughout the air filled my studio with that stench. It was like there was a hiss of gas just coming out when I opened the lid. And then immediately I was gagging. That was just straight to my nerve system. I closed it again. And I immediately put it outside, but that was too late. I opened, my studio was still connected to my house back then. I opened every window, every door possible. It was quite a nice day. So I don't know why I didn't do that outside. And after 4 hours, it still wasn't a little bit better. I went outside, just sitting outside in the back of the garden, just kind of neutralizing my nerves again, trying to save them. And I went just to my studio. I came a little bit closer, and it is as if a warmth came out of my house during a cold day, as if, you know, that feeling when you feel, or when you, well, I don't know how you can, when you're in a very air conditioned car, very cold during a very hot humid day, and then open the door and then just get that punch in your face from the heat, that kind of a feeling. That happened immediately as soon as I stepped in with the stench. Yeah, it probably was curiosity, but I should have known. I should have known better. Like that. Yeah, but a wall is something static, something that this more felt like a punching bag hitting your face with that. Anyway, that I think is my biggest mistake when it comes to what can happen when making paint. Anyway, that was Dirty Blue. So that was a mix of ultramarine blue and yellow ochre, and it's probably the kind of the organic stuff in the yellow ochre that did the magic. Stockwell, you mentioned it's time to grow up and buy yourself a muller. Tell us more about your paint making adventures, or the things that you do, why you need a muller, if you will. If you don't want to do that, that is completely fine as well. If you are still here, even, that is. Maybe you saw the live and thought, not for me, unsubscribe, I'm out of here. Which is possible. Ultramarine blue, why is that at the top? Only quarter pence? Seriously? Oh, I have, okay, two half pens of ultramarine. I need to print those as well. Yeah, well, that feeling. But then not hot air, but an awful smell. But the same sensation, the same kind of, yeah, from a jar. And then, you know, walking into the room, or walking close near the room, towards the room. Oh, that was completely next to it. Okay, that's messy. Save that. It wasn't only the sulfur, there was a big layer of mold on it as well. It was like a solidified layer of hair growing on the liquid glue-like paint consistency that it had already kind of developed. So it's like there's a lot of things went wrong there, but just keeping it too long, it probably caught some sunlight as well. Things like there was a lot of factors that won't happen again. It yelled at me when I opened the jar as well, and it tried to run away, but it couldn't climb the little walls of the glass jar. That was too steep. But I saw its furry legs now. I mean, it could have happened. It smelled like it could have happened. Which is weird, by the way. It smelled like something dead, so that couldn't have happened. But anyway, it was the sulfur as well. That's fun. It is. I've seen weird names for this blue, by the way. Fortunately, I don't have that experience, and I'm trying to keep it that way. I'm not going to look for that. Not going to ask for it either. Why is it set like this, by the way? That's better. It is for this paint, by the way, for this ultramarine, speaking of silver. And I think I've showed this during a live. I can't imagine I haven't showed this, but I don't think about this too often. How nice of you, Lawrence, when you're starting a sentence and don't finish it. I know, I'm sorry, I'm just going to concentrate on this first, okay? Okay, there I am again. It is for this reason that I have an HP meter, which HP. That's my health power. I'm not playing a game right now. The pH, which measures the acidity in a fluid. Why? Because this paint will lose its color when it's in something that has a high level of acidity. This is perfect for a Sonic. Yeah, I can imagine. Stockwell, you started with International Klein Blue. Next up, learning the history of inks and pens. There's my life from last week. Wednesday was a rant about Culture Hustle, Stuart Sample, and his Klein thing, and the sensation that he makes out of it, and the, yeah, I'm not even going to start about that. Sylvia, actually, it's International Klein Blue. It's not Eve Klein Blue. That's a Y, not an I. So yeah, it's basically this stuff, yeah, which makes me think of something. I 3D printed my logo in this blue, and did a first layer of IKB with it to mimic the pigment which is in my logo. So yeah, there's this. I also kind of made it's visible, right? A rougher surface here, like with a wobbly kind of powdery look surface instead of a flat surface. So yay for this. I need to kind of refine it, but that's going to go on my door here. Make PB28 next to compare. She asked nicely. Yes, ma'am. I thought, yeah, maybe, or I can try Bleu Outre-mer from Edouard Adam to compare it next with like a remake of the actual Klein pigment, which you told me, by the way. Forgot your name, Stockwell. You bought as well, right? I think, yeah, you mentioned that in the comment. No. Don't apologize. I appreciate it. As long as it's like not a directness to hurt my feelings. It is fine. Don't apologize for being direct. It is not a bad quality. It is just a quality that a lot of people don't recognize as a quality. Letting this dry over here. Need to find a place for that. True, Gulchen, but, and this is just my opinion, I do believe, I think, I have the feeling, how am I going to say this? Can I still go back? No, I can't. I have the feeling that some people, or people in general, are more easily hurt nowadays. That makes me sound old. I feel old, so it's appropriate. Yeah. And that's just giving you so much character, Ian. It's for here. I don't know if it even comes close to what you mean, right? But here, the things that you share with us sometimes, or the things that just, I think it's humorous. And yeah, I can appreciate it. I'm just playing right now. Sorry, I don't know why I'm... It's like this is just a fidget toy right now. Watching it spin. Well, Stockwell, happy to hear, I think. I do share a lot of my knowledge here as well, and not in a way that I want to teach you. I don't want to be the teacher here, which, you know, like the all-knowing. I'm not, and people know that. We're here to learn. I'm here to learn. But I'm also here, and hopefully everyone else is, I know at least, you know, from a lot of you, we're here to share. And always keeping it positive. Not in a kind of I don't know how to say that. I'm thinking of all possible things, how I could say what's in my head. I just don't know how to say it. We're just here to be positive and talk about pigments, our experiences, our opinions, and everything with respect. Gulchen, that is kind of, you're kind of describing my biggest issue here. Long-winded lines that say nothing. Eventually they do say something, and I'm not even the worst in my family with this. Starting a sentence and just don't finish it because you're thinking of something. I thought you went to get your medicine, Mr. Pigments. Or is that just not a word for... Never mind. There it happened again. So, sometimes my head just makes side quests during a sentence. And they'll come out as well. The side quests, the NPCs, everything just comes out. Yeah. And the main storyline eventually comes out, but sometimes, like the live, sometimes it takes 2 hours. But a watercolorist, I already kind of corrected that it is not Yves Klein, but International Klein. So, something blue. So what shall we do? Shall we make a PB28 cobalt blue that kind of looks like this? Same A History of the World in 3 colors. I haven't seen that one. I think I'm going to look it up. I've seen some Dutch versions of something that sounds like that, but it's not available. Why is it not available? It is on. Oh, need to shut my sound off because it is available here. Okay, then in that case, I'm going to save that. Thanks, Stockwell. You start growling. I have no idea what you look like, Ulchen. I honestly, I don't know how any of you, most of you look like, by the way. But somehow I can imagine you doing that. I don't know why. It even makes sense, kind of. I don't know. I know all of you so superficial here, but somehow I can imagine you doing that, which also kind of fits you without knowing what you look like. But aren't they all, Mr. Pigments? No, just kidding. So let's do a voting thing. I can open a poll, but I don't want to. I'm just being quite lazy. In the meantime, I'm pouring myself another tiny glass of wine because I just brought a Pinot glass to my studio. But please let me know, what shall I make next? Mr. Pigments, you said something. What was your issue with the cobalt from Guerra? If you could share that with us. I'll look that up, Gulchen. But I think the image I have in my head right now of you growling, I don't hope that is going to ruin no, probably not. It would be hilarious if it actually just fits the idea of you that is in my head. No, I'm not going to do cobalt teal. I'm either going to do an ultramarine that looks like this or a cobalt that looks like this. So we can actually see. Your issue with cobalt from Guerra is what was that when I put it in the dehydrator. You lost. Wow, that is just absolutely fantastic. Me reading like this. Just read it yourself. It's on the screen. 80% loss of volume. Cobalt teal is maybe your favorite color. Oh, okay, that's why. Okay, that's why. That's why. I'm going to have a look for it. I can do the be right back thing, like this, or let me just put the blue pigment next to it, and I'm going to look for something Guerra-ish. Because they did send me quite a lot when I got there mystery things. And sorry for the noise, if there is any noise. If there is no noise, I'm going to take back the apology. I can't really find it. Cheers everyone who's getting a drink. But I think it's weird for a dispersion to lose so much of its volume, I think, when it's dry. Meaning the pigment load is quite low there. Well, you know, as everyone's saying, at least Sylphie, usually kind of what you see is what you get with cobalt. There's a little shrinkage, there's and the separation is weird. I just have one cobalt, like the Titanate blue-green cobalt, PB 36 from Guerra. But yeah, that looks nothing like this. It's still weird, I think. Especially when the pigments are separating really badly. And you did say that you molded enough. You can try it though. I mean, where was it? Wait, I do have, wait, this is, no, maybe cobalt is, yeah, it's quite a heavy cobalt. Do I have one of those things? Yeah, okay. Let's Let's have a look. Where is the... Is that the right one? That's the one. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, it's like the mini ink bottle shakers. This is quite a heavy bottle of theirs. Far heavier than any of them. And still fresh in its package. So let's just see what happens with this. Did you mix it 1-on-1 with the binder as you would do with a regular dry pigment? Then 1-on-1 it is. This is what happens here is just the reason why I kind of stay clear from dispersions. There is a chemical reaction happening here. There is something is happening, something is rejecting the other thing, as if you would throw water on oil or alcohol on water. I've been able to avoid the tariffs. It was thank you, Stockwell, appreciate it. It was only starting from, I think, 500 euros or dollars when the import tariffs actually kind of it looks gooey. It looks off for me, but we're going to I mean, I can imagine what you're saying looking at this. We're going to do whatever we can to make this work. Actually going to use, now I'm just going to use the medium, no, this is the small muller, not the tiny muller, but the small one. Almost my hand in there. Oh, there's something on top of it. I thought there's something like here. That's weird. No, Sylvie, luckily there is kind of a starting point from that, and it's not zero, luckily for us. Well, I don't know how long that will still last, though. Well, it's not then that they're not affecting. I know. I noticed that there's a bit of fright for people to buy at the moment. Also, all the costs rising and everyone. I do notice a big difference there. Okay, so Mr. Pigments, did you add water while mulling? Thank you, Teddy, and welcome. Thanks for liking the stream. Yeah, people, please like the stream. If you, I need to have like a banner reminding myself for that. You didn't add water, okay, so. This was an older one as well, by the way. This is not their new label. I don't know where. But I'll try and see if I can get a really old one. But they told me, this was from the mystery bag as well, yeah. They told me that this isn't PB9, it's PB29. They told me that it shouldn't matter if it's an older dispersion, because this is PB36 cobalt titanate, yeah, titanate blue green. So there's this, and I need to clean up. Yeah, this is just a continuation of my live stream. Which happens organically. During my live stream. I think I like that better, Gulchin. My lives are organically evolving with the chat instead of a chaotic paint making session. Yeah, that's perfect. I need to have a 50-0 Hagman gauge. Right, so this PB36, BB36, there we are. 36. If you're wondering why does he need to look for PB36 while grabbing a pen, if you're new here, this is why. Because it doesn't want to focus. Yeah, you can see it, right? PB36 in the pen and dirty blue on the other side of the pen. Well, just you do your focus thing. actually just going to pour a half pen in its entirety to see how bad the shrinkage is, or it's in its entirety. It's not even a half pen worth of paint that I just made. I think this needs the different angle. I think it just needs something else. It needs something different. Anyway, there it is. I know we're not comparing with the ultramarine blue I just made, because we really can't with this color. Unless I would mix the ultramarine blue with white to see what happens there, but that makes it way more violet, lilac-y than this blue. Although with enough white, I think it comes quite close. This is quite a warm leaning, lighter blue. Even after the 3 fills. Oh wow, I swatched it just over there. It has some transparency through it. It's not as opaque as I thought it would be. Seeing this. Even loading my brush up with pigment like this, I would have guessed this would have been more opaque, but it's not. That's okay. When your brain's not braining, it's trust me, I know how it feels. Maybe I should also refill this bottle to make it just easier instead of just doing this when nothing comes out. Just being lazy right now. What time is it? Almost 10. Here for an hour and a half right now, exactly. So for everyone who got their drinks, their whiskey, their gin or their beers, maybe some wine even somewhere, or just a glass of soda or water, cheers everyone. Sorry, I wasn't here to drink with you last Wednesday. before the live stream, I actually just came back. I literally walked out of the garden since I was kind of doing some gardening stuff before the live stream. Maybe a bit too much info to ask, but what kind of meds are doing that to you, Ian? Let's do Klein. It's here. And to be honest, okay, that was a great sentence. I know, thank you. Or my no, there's another sentence. I'm so good with words today. You know what? I'll do Decline. The PB28 is my toxic hazardous cupboard, and I really don't feel like looking for that right now. If you could kill those words, yes. And now my here and there, it's mirrored here, the PB29 is correct again. Ta-da. Okay. Nice scoop of ultramarine blue. Small one. Just small one. So we can do some measuring today. Right, is my NIX connected? Connect. Search for my device. Dirty blue NIX. There you are. Bzz, bzz, and I am connected. Yes. Why does it ask for calibration? Oh, again, I did that yesterday. Okay. Pigment, check. Binder, check. Pellet knife, thank you, check. And we are mixing. I haven't tested this pigment as watercolor yet. I am doing it now. I also haven't compared it, obviously, in that case, with my just made ultramarine. So if this comes out exactly the same as mine, I paid a lot of money for just a small jarish thing of pigment. Let's use the medium muller now. Mullers for every single quantity of paint. I'm not familiar with that. I do have the feeling that this pigment is just slightly more thirsty. I know I should. Okay, I'm not recommending this to anyone making paint. But I just made paint, and you know, I smelled sulfur. The cobalt was safe because there was no dry pigment flying around, so I could just do that like that. But with this, there was no smell there, by the way. It doesn't smell like sulfur. Well, I have a PB74 that looks very similar to an ultramarine blue. I also have a PB28 that looks like an ultramarine blue of a cheaper brand of paint. Because it's just that, like that opaqueness that has, also when it dries, you know, when it's something as ultramarine and, you know, it's exactly this color, but in a pan or in a tube, you know it's not ultramarine because... well, okay, this is the same wet paint. You know what I mean. It looks lighter, but then again, this surface has less pigment. Before this, I used 4 teaspoons, and now I'm just using 1/3 of a teaspoon of pigment. So it could be the transparency of the white shining through that makes it look lighter. I'm not quite sure, but I'm quite sure that this tiny bit of pigment is already mold enough. Nice Muller stamp. And there's the smell. Okay, never mind. Hey, what's colorist? Thanks for joining. Have a great rest of the day. Hopefully see you next time. Let's swatch it. I think this one is a little bit more green leaning. But I should be really careful with what I'm saying right now. Since the one on the top is dry already. This one definitely is not. I'm just waiting for Gulchan to remind me I should be pouring this into dot pans. Maybe I should do that, Gultian. Will you come here and do that for me? Yeah. You know, they'll need to be cut into size because this is what obviously this is too wide. Ah, there you go. I can finally start my pens. Let's have a look. You know what? I can use my quarter pens for this. Is this PB29? Yep. So we're going to let this dry. Can we let it dry a little bit faster? Probably we can. I'll have a look at that for the swatches, Gulchan. Thanks. I think the swatches are drying to be quite similar. It still does feel like there is a slight difference. But in all honesty, especially going to do something completely unheard of. Am I? Maybe. I don't know. Probably. I think I already am doing it. Like the dirty blue. And the Adam blue. Please don't fly everywhere. Why did I close it that tightly? And if we just look at that from up close, if we can, yes we can see barely anything. There we go. It's quite close, isn't it? I'm just going to blow up this screen over here. This is almost indistinguishable. It looks a little bit lighter, but also with the swatch, it looks a slightly bit cooler, I think. Even this one over here is a slightly warmer. That's a feeling that I have. But using this as Klein would do in a binder that makes it appear as its powdered form, I don't think, unless you would hang two pieces next to each other, I don't think you would notice a difference if you would use this pigment or this pigment. But that's not like the goal, right? That's not the idea behind it. If you wouldn't notice a difference, it's more, the idea was to have a reference of the exact same stuff. We're going to find out in a minute or two. What to do with the pigment now? What shall we do with this pigment? Is there anything blasphemous we can do with this? Any suggestions? I'm going to ignore that, Mr. Pickens. Mix it like together or mix it with what? Is it me or is it like from the top? Is that difference more noticeable? Done. Now it's not noticeable anymore. The weird thing is, it's lighter when you spread out ultramarine as a flat surface like this, without the binder, as if you would use a soft pastel, for instance. It's way lighter than the pigment without doing that. Try to make the cobalt from before by mixing titanium white in it. I like that. That's a great guess. That's fully within our niche and everything ticks the boxes. Great idea, Ian. Yes. Okay, so happen to have a little jar of titanium white here, which is just a coincidence. And this is the kind of paint-making session that is most fun, I think. Doing some weird fun stuff. Random fun stuff. Sorry about that. Yeah, I have one of those buckets from Kramer as well. Here. I don't use it very often. This is too warm. Like I said, this is too lilac-ish. Does it sound naughty? It does sound fun. Oh, that sounds naughty. I didn't even read it like that. Oh my god. Apparently you didn't either, Sylvie. Tit white. Yeah. That's one way to say it. I know with ultramarine and no, titanium white in this case. Like, this is not like even close, I know, but there's like a certain point where you can add more titanium white to ultramarine blue where it almost doesn't change the color anymore. Which is annoying. Like, but this is lighter than that is. Still too warm. So no, it's a no for this as trying to recreate that pigment. No, but that's I didn't think it would be a color match, to be honest. I did a color match last week, a literal color match for paint that was used in a bathroom. I made an alcohol-based pigment dispersion for an epoxy paint, and let me have a look if I can still find the. So this is eventually, this was the original, this was my version, my pigment mix. I nailed everything except for the first part of the kind of violet part, but everything else matched, like this matched perfectly. Here mine is a little less red, here is mine has a slight peak in violet, which was weird since everything else matched exactly the same. Like, I passed the quality test here. And I don't know why. Probably the white that was mixed in the original like pigment mix has something else in it, but I nailed the blue. I mean, I know that it was PB15 definitely, with a lot of filler, different fillers as well. Titanium white for the opaqueness, and I used PW18 for giving it a little bit more bulk. I nailed everything apart from like 20-30 nanometers of wavelengths where I don't know, but you can't see the difference. So that was the main point. So yeah, that's definitely too warm. Here, this is dry. So let's get to the screen. Like we are here, and this is not our screen because this is our screen. Oh, first I need to calibrate everything. Oh, wait. Me apologies for this. Luckily, calibrating this thing is quite fast. So we're first going to scan add to color bar, and we're going to no. Can we wait? Let's see how this compares to this one. Add to color bar here. We're going to remove this one here. We're going to. So this is basically the same. It's a little bit higher. So okay, I'm going to use that from my library. And this is the Eve Klein. Okay. As you can see, I passed it. This is within visible, acceptable range of a difference, meaning you couldn't see the difference with the naked eye. It is a minimum % lighter in the blue area. Paolo, welcome. That could also be meaning it is a slightly more transparent pigment, because if I'm this is more at a lighter spot in a less covered area of the swatch. As you can see, the line goes higher, and this is in a more concentrated mask tone area of the spots. And this is even more, at least it should be. No, why not? Oh, there's a bit of caution here, but we're getting closer. So it really depends on. This is my own pigment in a lighter spot. This is my own pigment in a slightly darker spot. Nailed it. So yeah, it is slightly lighter. Yes. As you can see here, we have the reference, we have the lightness, everything else, the hue angle, almost the same. This is, yeah, yeah. There's not a lot of difference, but there is a slight difference. But in mass tone, it's almost indistinguishable from my regular ultramarine blue. So is it worth it? Not for anyone who isn't very interested in this. If you want to get as close to the real thing as possible, buy that stuff. Yes, I've only tested it against one ultramarine blue pigment, which is, to be honest, looking at the curve of the line, it is the same. I mean, this is not a very different curve. The blue is slightly higher. The red and the green, everything from, I think, 520 nanometers is kind of exactly the same. It has historic value, yes, obviously, but that's only, like I said, only if you are very interested in this. If you are not, this is not for you. It is for me, though. I mean, I do like having it, the real thing. Looking at the swatch, and that's also, I mean, that also means something, I think. Why is this not? Why does it? Ugh. Looking at the swatch, I do see a difference. It's not a big difference, but there is a difference. A slight difference. That's not a big difference. So yeah. Do I have a lapis lazuli curve to compare it with? Of course I do. I am prepared like this. At least let's remove the patch and let's add from my blue, and let's add my Fra Angelico, and let's scan the Klein next to that. So in the Fra Angelico, in the purest form of lapis that I have, it reflects more of everything but less of blue. So that's because of still the impurities and the pigment shape. So all the irregular shaped pigments reflect differently than synthetic ultramarine blue. So there you go. Can we compare it to something else as well? We can compare it to everything I have here in my library. Obviously, we can compare it to Yinmin, for instance. Just the patch. Let's compare it to Yinmin. This is closer than ultramarine is. Looking at like how much of the greens and reds it reflects, and everything in between. The ultramarine, though, is a tiny bit more red, a lot more blue, and it's because of the tiny bit more red, especially from 660 nanometers onwards, the line rises. After 700 nanometers, which we can't see, it has a peak in infrared. Interestingly, Yinmin is the purest blue available because of this flat line, like after 550 nanometers, kind of it just goes flat. And that is quite fascinating to me. Also, it doesn't reflect as much violet and near ultraviolet wavelengths, but way more like pure blue 450, 460 nanometer wavelengths than any other blue. So that's why this is the bluest blue. But compared next to like ultramarine, and there I go with my chaotic swatchers. If I dare to even try this, we have just looking at the ultramarines here. We have Frangelica, but this is not a good swatch. I should do this over again. Here, Yin Min. Bye Ian, thanks for joining. By Ian. Oh no, by Sylvie. Oh, I saw it by Ian. By Sylvie. I'm going to go offline in a minute as well. But here is Yinmin. Here is ultramarine blue. If you would ask me what is bluer, what is the the deepest blue, before I had any knowledge about this, I would say, oh, this is way more blue, but this is way more saturated. This reflects way more wavelengths than this does, because this only reflects the blue wavelengths. Or just look, almost only the blue. This reflects more, and that's why it also looks more saturated, like in your face blue. I like both equally, I would say, but theoretically, Yinmin is the bluest blue. I don't wish to hope to get rid of you that easily. But I will go after I just going to top off this dot over here. Maybe one more. Come on, we can top this off like the others, right? Yeah, we can. Okay. Now I'm going to go offline as well. I need to do some chores. Need to put some containers next on the street and things like that. So yeah. I'm just going to ignore that. He says a lot of stuff, and all I hear is it's literally it's just an annoying sound more than words that I hear. Frying your Saturday breakfast bacon, Rick. I am jealous, although it is Friday evening here. I'm going to go. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining on this irregular day for a live stream of mine. I try to keep my Wednesdays up as much as possible, but sometimes just can't control what's happening. Especially when my kids need me, and that just that's more important than anything in the world. So. Paolo, F you. No, don't start about that. Seriously, don't start about this. Like last week when I was color matching, and I was mixing pigments and reading, scanning the original paint, and then mixing pigments again and adjusting every. I had I have a YouTube list with like my watch later list, and I had one of the lists was why Pantone is so expensive. And at 5 moments in that like 10-minute video, 5 moments, that guy popped up whining about everything in life about Pantone and not being fair and everything. Like, I get that. Like he has a point, but the way he brings stuff is just like. Yeah. It's still not out of my system, I think. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. Hopefully see you next week. Again, what is it? Tomorrow's Saturday, right? Maybe I'll be online tomorrow, maybe Sunday morning? I don't know. Put on notifications. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you don't want to miss any new video or live stream. Oh, that's the wrong order, right? Subscribe, like, and put on notifications. I need to practice that. Yeah, I'm going to pour another glass because this. Now I'm thinking about it again. See you next time, guys. Thanks.